Welcome back. David Hertel in for Elias. Over the past decade, the federal government has spent a whopping $476,000 throwing, get ready for this, galas. But not for the rich and famous, for their own bureaucrats, in order to bestow them with expensive awards. The annual event is dubbed the Public Service Award of Excellence and has been going on since 2005. In the past 2 years alone, combined spending on the galas came to $118,000, with about $80,000 of that going towards custom-designed trophies alone. Oh, my goodness. Always enjoy speaking with the federal director of the Canadian Taxpayers Federation, Franco Terrazzano. Franco, wow. Really? $80,000 for trophies?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, hey? Like, it's one of these stories where you almost don't know where to start. But let me just give an overview.
Go.
Like, this is crazy. You got the federal government that is up to its eyes in debt. You have its constituents who are struggling with a couple years of restrictions, a pandemic, massive inflation. And do they find savings in the most obvious part? No, they don't. They throw these fancy, glitzy galas for their bureaucrats. It's essentially an award show every single year that costs taxpayers tens of thousands of dollars. In the last 2 years alone, these award shows for the government bureaucrats cost us, as you mentioned, over $100,000 with $80,000 spent on trophies. So let's look at the 2022. Let's start there. They spent $37,000 plus on the awards gala. They even expense mileage and parking for 165 local employees. So government employees weren't even paying to get downtown in Ottawa. They expense the taxpayer. Now, these trophies, they describe them as plaques in beveled black glass featuring clear crystal overlay with silver standoff and a personalized inscription deep etched and silver filled. Folks, this is them living large on your tax dollars, throwing themselves these fancy award shows when the government is strapped for cash.
Wow. So wouldn't it be funny? I don't expect you to know this, but were the plaques made in China?
Well, the plaques were expensive. Right?
But imagine if on top of that they were made in China.
Outsourcing plaques.
Yeah. So I'll push back. I'll be devil's advocate here. What about, employee morale? You see it in the private sector. You reward your employees. You reward performance. A little gala, helps the troops. Seriously. What about, doing something to motivate your employees? What say you?
You almost rebutted your own devil's advocate there when you said little gala. You know what I mean?
Well said. No, but what's your reaction to that? Should there be? Because I remember when I was in the Quebec government, you would have in my ministry, there would be like a small event, but it'd be very small. It would be during lunch and it wasn't a big thing, but you would recognize people. You would try to be, it's about motivating your employees, isn't it?
Well, look, I think it's completely a different thing to say, well, we're going to have a little event, we're going to have a pizza party, and we're going to recognize some of the excellence, right?
Right.
That's one thing. But it's a completely other thing to spend tens of thousands of dollars every single year on these galas when your own government is more than $1 trillion in debt, when all you have to do is kind of look around beyond Ottawa to see that people are really struggling and you're using their money, right? And this is just the tip of the iceberg. In 2012, it cost $195,000. Do you see the extreme here?
I do.
Right? It's one thing to have a pizza party, bring people in the office, give awards, make funny speeches. It's a completely other thing to spend $500,000 over a decade, where 1 year it cost $195,000 to do an award show, right? But this is just the tip of the iceberg, folks. In 2021, during the pandemic year, the awards gala was held virtually over 3 days.
3 days?
Over 3 days, right? So I totally understand your devil's advocate because you do want better morale. You do want to reward people who are working very hard. but they are using other people's money to do the most extravagant type of glitzy galas at a time when so many people are struggling.
Fair point. I get it. And which is it? Service Canada that does this? Who does this? Which arm of the government organizes this?
Oh, that's a good question. Sorry, I don't have that off the top of my head.
Because I'm wondering who ultimately the minister, who would we go after to say, hey, hold on a second, this is going on here. You know what I'm saying?
That's a very good question, and I also want to put another thing in people's head. Like, this is a nonpartisan issue.
Absolutely.
Right? Of course, the Liberal government is in power right now, but this was also going on under the Conservative government.
Oh, sure. But I'm just saying, I mean, ultimately, elected officials run the government. And I know you know this very well, but I'm just saying, beyond partisanship, I agree with you. I'm sure this was going on with the Conservatives. But the thing is that there's accountability here. And so, I mean, even in the private sector, the expense accounts have been cut. Even, Christmas parties have been cut down to the bare minimum to basically in-house lunches. I mean, so when you come up with every time you come up with these examples of government spending, I'm like, there's no accountability. You know what I'm saying? There's this anonymous series of decision makers that we never seem to make accountable.
That's exactly right. And one of the issues with the lack of accountability is just the lack of transparency in the first place, right? Like, nobody knows that this was happening.
No.
Like,
how did you find out?
Well, we've been kind of on this hot tip for a little while.
Right.
So what we had to do is we had to file an access to information request, right? And we got back more than 300 pages of documents. And that's how we were able to tally the full number. We went back and forth with the government, and we were able to find what they were spending the money on. Like in 2019, the event in 2019 cost $23,000. It included a red carpet. It included a nice proposed menu of charcuterie, curd Arctic char, smoked and candied salmon, smoked trout, pork terrine, and duck prosciutto. Right, so this is the exact opposite of a pizza party with your employees to recognize stuff. Now, on the flip side, and this goes back into the accountability, it's one thing to reward good performance. But over the last 5 years, the government publishes this data online. Only one of the last 5 years were government departments meeting half of their own performance target. Only in one of those years. So the question for taxpayers, as we expect services from our government, is they are rewarding themselves when they do a good job, presumably, but they're also rewarding themselves when they do a bad job. So that's the other point of the stick here, right, for taxpayers, is, well, who is going to be held accountable within the bureaucracy when they fail to deliver services to the tax-paying public who's paying this bill?
And then when you tell them that, they'll say, well, look, I have this nice plaque saying I did an amazing job. Franco, always a pleasure. Thank you for all your digging and your time today.
Well, thanks for having me on.
Franco Terrazzano is the federal director of the Canadian Taxpayers Federation.